Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Little Simz album, Grey Area. Little Simz is a UK-based MC. She's been known over the years for her jazzy approach to hip-hop, as well as her very aggressive performances. 2015's A Curious Tale of Trial and Persons. Very exciting debut for me. I thought it was really good. Tracks like Gratitude and the Big Dead Body single were really exciting tunes. They had absolutely tons of personality. It made me just really want to hear more of Little Simz at the end of the day. But for me, some of the spacier moments here were a little iffy. And that goes doubly for 2017's Stillness in Wonderland. It's still a very creative, pretty well thought out album for Little Simz. And Simz's performances throughout are just as intense. But for me, some of the instrumentals were a little too hazy, a little too out there for my liking most of the time. However, I haven't heard from Little Simz in a while, and the singles on this album have been really exciting for me leading up to it, and I can't wait to chat about this album. Let's do it. This album starts off with Offence. To be honest, this track is incredible. I'm like absolutely stunned by it, to be honest. I don't know why. I should have saw this coming from a mile away. For Little Simz, this track is an absolute breath of fresh air. I love the very lo-fi, bass-heavy beat that clashes wonderfully with this very airy, classy atmosphere. Like the flutes and the strings here, such a fantastic addition. I can't stress that enough. And in all the years I've been listening to her, I honestly don't think I've ever heard Simz this urgent. She has so much swagger here, so much genuine confidence. And honestly, some of her one-liners here, I have to pause this damn track and take a moment to take it all in. With this track, she seriously puts everyone on notice in a big way. Boss is up next, and on the other hand, this track goes for a much more hardcore, hip-hop, boom-bap style to it. And honestly, it's something completely different, but I love it. It's so much more in-your-face and aggressive, I can't even begin to tell you how much this track amps me up. Simz continues to have absolutely tons of confidence, but with her very urgent, aggressive, and skillful bars, she backs every ounce of it up. Not only that, but there are some genuinely far-out ideas on this track. Like, there's some seriously experimental stuff going on. I love it. So far, this album to me has been nothing short of a breath of fresh air. A few tracks later, Venom brings in a lot of the same attributes. This track is a harrowing, aggressive, urgent Little Simz track for the ages. It's so animated. It's so non-stop. I've literally never heard Simz this paranoid, and I think that's a great tribute to have. And after this very intense introduction to this track that we get, the trip-hop beat that comes in is very classy. The altered vocals, those strings that are just enough out of reach. This track has a lot of really great elements. And on top of that, Simz is on top of her game. She does not rest for a single second here. A few tracks later, Therapy is one of the heaviest tracks here. Like, I can't stress this enough, Simz's energy on this album, it's absolutely staggering most of the time. And hearing her be so energetic over these very experimental, far-out atmospheres, it's genuinely fascinating. This track has a very haunting, chilly vibe to it that just gives it so much more character. It's not the only time you're going to hear me say this here. But it's in times like this that I realize Simz is often hopping between hip-hop genres here, doing it so fearlessly. Like, this really is the culmination of everything she's been doing for years. And some of the final bars here may just be the best on the entire album. Early on in the album, we get Selfish featuring Cleo Sol, and this track is even more of a left-field hook from Little Simz. Like, honestly, I'm not really used to hearing her bring in some guest singers, and here it makes this track come off in a more neo-soul kind of way, and it's actually really fascinating. Like, Cleo Sol on this chorus sounds absolutely incredible. Even the production on this track, compared to the rest of the album, it's just so classy. It's just a really interesting switch up. And Little Simz on this track comes off much more laid back and much more emotional. On 101 FM, we get some of the most beautiful atmospheres that Simz has ever worked with. Not to mention, one of the more straightforward beats of the album. Once again, we get some very emotional bars here, with Simz actually getting pretty personal with us. Hell, even the little radio skit that we get at the end comes off pretty fine. Or at the very least, a little bit of fun. On Pressure, featuring Little Dragon, we see Simz working with a more sort of spoken word sound, which is interesting. But even though this one goes down a more spoken word direction, it comes off just as hard-hitting and focused. Honestly, with this more stripped down atmosphere, Simz just comes off more as the focus and the center of attention, and just makes her come off as more of an even bigger badass. Not to mention, I love the recurring theme of applying pressure on this track. And honestly, while I haven't been into Little Dragon in probably years, I think their contribution to this track makes it even more haunting. Overall, I feel like Gray Area, as this album's title, has a couple of different meanings. Like, this is a very gray album at the end of the day. But I honestly couldn't be happier with it. Now, there are a couple of moments here that I'm not as wowed by Little Simz. For one, we have Wounds featuring Chronix. Even though this does, in a lot of ways, seems like a callback to Little Simz's earlier work, I feel like this track is a little unfocused. Between Simz and Chronix, I feel like this is everything I didn't like about her last project. There's obviously tons of talent on display, and the verses are honestly great, but nothing about this track seems focused in the slightest. It's also one of the longer tunes here, which usually I wouldn't mind, but since it becomes so unfocused, it's just agitating. And I hate to be negative because this is a really brilliant rap album, but Sherbert Sunset I feel like I have a lot of the same issues with. Like, I hate to be that guy, but I feel like it's some of these spacier tunes that still just don't click with me. Her performance here continues to be just as skillful, and I actually do really like the funky bass licks. But even this chorus just seems so thrown together, I just don't feel like this was meant for this album. But with Flowers featuring Michael Kiwanuka, I honestly feel like Simz does really end this album off on a great note, especially as far as her more dreamy tunes go. This track is seriously compelling, mostly because Simz doesn't hold back at all. Like, there's still a very steamy, dreamy atmosphere, but her performance here is absolutely laser focused. Not to mention all of her references to the 27 Club and all these celebrities and musicians that have passed away are just really classy and come off really emotional, honestly. So overall, this may not be a very big secret, but I think this is a really fantastic rap album that I needed to hear right now. I think Little Simz is just as focused as ever, and I think that a lot of the production, the beats that she hops on here, have really brought her performances up to the next level. While I still don't like some of the spacier tracks in her discography, and I do still sort of feel like that's her downfall, this is a fantastic alternative rap album with some great jazzy beats and incredibly urgent performances. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this one, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to comment and subscribe. And as always, let me know what you guys want me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.